Hey friend, welcome to the treehouse. Want to come inside? Oh, wait, just one last thing. All right, let's go inside. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Frame by Frame. Happy to have you here, and I hope you're having a wonderful week. And I'm super excited to look at your submissions from last week's photo challenge, which is all we've got on the agenda today, the Creative Light Photo Challenge. So, hello, welcome. If you're here watching live, post a comment so I know who's here tuning in. Next week, just as a quick announcement, it will be the Thanksgiving holiday here in the US and anyone celebrating it around the world. So I'll be taking the week off from Frame by Frame, spending time with my family, thinking about all the things I'm thankful for. And so that's my question for you today. What are you thankful for? Is there anything related to photography, life, small, big, anything you're thankful for today? Share it in the chat. I'm very thankful for being able to be here with you today. Thankful for my family, for our health and our safety right now, and just very blessed to be able to be here with you. And last week I was telling my wife about how it was really awesome to see the members here just giving support for Frame by Frame, for the courses in general. And I love that you are all enjoying this series and me going live and trying to provide feedback to help you, support you, make you a better photographer. And it just means a lot when I get to hear that from you all. So thank you for those comments, and shout out to Celeste, the Professor 3000 here live. So last week we did rural scenes and seasonal changes, and this week coming up we've got patterns in nature. Also, I will say another thank you to everyone who submitted ideas for the next year's, where is this post? Share your ideas for weekly challenges. We got a ton of ideas. I've already started to take a bunch of them and put them together in a list of new weekly challenges. And so you'll get those starting next year. We've got them running through the end of this year, but we'll have a whole new batch of 52 weeks of challenges in 2026. So I hope you're ready for that. Hey, Thomas, how's it going? Suzanne, welcome. So that's that. This week we've got the Creative Light Challenge, and I thought, I only spent a couple minutes doing this, but in terms of what I'm looking for, in terms of what will be a good photo for this challenge, obviously light has to be more interesting than just some sort of natural light or day head sunlight over standard flash. I'm looking for something creative. Maybe it's a photo that is of the light itself that's creative, but maybe there's a subject as well that has creative light going on around it. So here's a couple just quick examples I found searching online for creative lighting. Something like this, where it's standard portrait, but then the lighting itself is completely creative and fun. I'm expecting some long exposures, something like this, where we get some cool shapes made out of the light. Something like this, maybe too. So that is some inspiration if you haven't done the challenge, or if you're just kind of wondering what I'm looking for. We'll see as we get into these photos. I have only quickly browsed through them, and we will get to them. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Oh, the only other thing is Will did mention in the community in the announcements. I don't think any of you are near Nashville, but if any of you are near Nashville, this Saturday, Will is doing a workshop. And if you know anyone in Nashville, or if you want to fly out to Nashville and meet Will, he's doing this in-person workshop. And so his cousin owns a studio space out there, and they're a really cool sort of co-working space as well. And so he's going out there to do this. It'll be kind of a cool experiment to see how we can maybe incorporate more live training. And you know what I should do? I should probably like go out and film this and then offer it, or just post it on YouTube, or offer it as part of a class or something. I think that'd be kind of cool. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, we're going to get into these challenges. And what I always forget to do, which I'm going to do today, is bring up the post so that I can see the details of the question, the submissions. So, as you know, you've probably been here before, but shout out to first timers. Let me know in the comments if you're a first timer. Got a 1 through 5 scale. 1 being worst, 5 being the best, 3 right in the middle. If your photo is composed well, lit well, if it's hits the challenge theme, then most photos are going to get around there. But I'm going to try to give everyone some feedback to improve. And then those that stand out to me personally will be 4s, 5s. And if I think it needs a little bit of assistance, I'm going to do it a 2 or 1. I'm going to be a little bit more critical today. I feel like I always say that, but I am going to try to not just give 3s to everyone. So we're going to start out with David Austin with this statue that looks like it has some lighting on it. It doesn't look like David probably put this lighting up, but maybe it's, so it looks like lit. I'm reading his comment. It's at the Winchester Cathedral, lit up by multicolored lights from a science show exhibition. That's pretty cool. So that's like a neat thing to see, like, oh, they probably had these like cool lights shining on the cathedral and the statues. That's pretty neat. It reminds me of the photo dash challenge I had to do at the Conservatory of Flowers at Golden Gate Park, and they had like these projections on a really cool building there. Nice exposure. I like that it's a little bit darker for this photo. Framing's pretty good. I might have like cropped or shifted to the right just a little bit. You're already cropping out part of his arm on the left side of the frame, so I could see why you would probably want to like try to balance and include that, but maybe like putting more of the negative space in front of his hands and his face might have felt a little bit more balanced. I don't know. But I love the shadows that you get here. Really cool shadows and contrast you get from the photo. Nice edit. In honor of being a little tougher this week, I'm going to give you a 2, David. I think it's a cool photo. The lighting is some semi-creative, me projecting this texture on the statue, but I think maybe there was a way that and it looks like you just pulled this photo from a past shoot, but like if there was a way for you to put in the extra effort to like light something or add lights or something like that, I would have probably given you a little bonus point for that. So we're going to give you, let me see if I can set this up, 2 lightning bolts. All right, next, Darwin Sosa. Speaking of lights projecting on a building, this is a pretty cool building. My initial just straight into critiques is it looks like the focus is on the tree in front of this building. And I think that could have been a cool decision to focus on something in front of the building as the subject, but then have this cool lit up building in the background. But because I don't know what your f-stop was, and it looks like this was last October 31st in Singapore. But because the focus is like so close, like it's like on the building's like slightly out of focus, it feels like it should be in focus. So I would have rather seen like another subject or a part of the tree or something in the foreground that was maybe in focus with the background being blurrier, basically, to make this work. I think maybe you could have just photographed the building itself, put that camera down lower on the ground looking up. Looks like you have like a pretty wide lens, so you might have been able to get that whole building, maybe just centering yourself on that building and getting it just flat, looking at it, just perfectly straight on. Not necessarily. I think also because of like the kind of creepy vibes, Halloween at an angle does work pretty well. But I think my biggest critique is like this branch. It actually looks kind of cool, but it feels like it's in the way of what I'm trying to see, which is the building. So I'm going to give you Darwin. Oh gosh. Man, this is Phil being tough, but I'm going to give you a 1. I think this one, I like the lighting being interesting, but I think compositionally and technically missed a couple marks. All right, next up, we've got Suzanne. Suzanne's been killing it with your photos. I saw your concert photography, which was awesome. I saw a bird that you posted recently too, I think. Awesome looking. I love these lights. I have during Christmas season, there's little festivals and things around me too that have like a lot of these hanging lights that are really cool to photograph. I dig it. I don't like, is this you standing there? I don't know if I recognize you or not, but your subject, I feel like it's too much to the right. Kind of like too tight on the right. So I want them to be centered. I want maybe not centered, but just not feel like you're being cut off. And also because I don't mind the people walking by. Maybe it's like 2 paths of people walking around. But like, because this person on the left with the beanie, so not you, sorry, is kind of at the same plane as your subject, they're in focus. I think it would have been better maybe if you could have gotten a shot like a moment later where no one on that left side was in focus as well, to again just decrease distraction. You could also use like a linear gradient or something on that left side of the frame to blur out in Lightroom or something to help with that. But the location is awesome. I love the lights, the focus and the out of focus lights. I would probably give you a 3 for this one. I think if you had shifted maybe your composition just a little bit, that would have been just like spot on. Centered is boring. Yeah, I know. I know. Centered is boring. I think it's just so close to the edge that it feels like she's about to like fall off the frame. And maybe if it was something where it was like closer up on her face, like just focus on her, maybe that would have worked. Like even just cropped in like to her without that person on the left, still crop like tight on the face, that might have felt better to me anyways. All right, Abhishek wrote, what did Abhishek write for this? This photograph was an exercise in creative lighting designed using a miniature figure. I imagined her as a secret agent, but the mission log suggests frequent interruptions for popcorn. Well, Abhishek, I got to give you credit with designing these photos that you do, and the way that you add lots of lights to have like backlights, key lights, side lights, and fill lights to light up everything in your scenes is pretty impressive. I'm not sure about the angle or the composition of this one. I feel like it's kind of flat on the bed. I feel like I kind of want that bed to be at more of an angle maybe. and just to create more depth throughout the image, or just like commit to the flatness of it and like get the full bed perpendicular to the frame, the lens, and even that plant, like push it back just so it's like this one flat thing. That's an idea. I don't know. Everything I say is just an idea. It doesn't mean it's gonna make it better. It's just my thoughts. Yeah, but in terms of like creative lighting, I would say it's a 3, for like putting in the effort to get a pretty cool lit set, and that takes some creativity. All right, Cesar Sanchez. Now, this is what I was expecting, something more like this, where you got super creative with, it looks like a phone maybe. Yeah, phone and a light bulb. And I love that you found this cool, colorful background that you can put on, and then just the curvature of the light bulb reflects that light in a really cool way. So I'm going to give you a 4. I like the edit as well, and just crunching down that black, those darks and the shadows just to get pure black, and all you see is this light. I don't really know if I have any real critiques. I feel like you kind of get a sense that it's a phone there, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm wondering what it would have looked like if it was cropped tighter on the phone, so that like the light mat at the bottom kind of filled the whole frame. I don't know, but then like that light bulb would have felt a little bit too big, I think, too. So I kind of like all of it being lost in the darkness. So I actually really like it, and it seems like you got a couple good likes in the community as well. So I think I did that. 4 stars for this one. Thank you for posting. All right, David got these cool light bars that I've seen before. I have never played with those, but they look really cool. Shot on the Nikon D750 for about a 13-second exposure. It's cool. I like the creativity. The quality of the image is pretty grainy. It's got a lot of digital noise. I think from that longer exposure, you probably still had maybe a high ISO. I feel like you could have done a little bit more denoise, and maybe if you had a bit more light on the car itself, that would have helped. Maybe that means getting like a separate off-camera flash that like fires, or maybe just someone else kind of with a flashlight or something painting the front of the car just a little bit, kind of would have been cool. I do see like on the left side, just minor things. I see like a little highlight on the very far side of the frame that I probably would have just like brushed out or used a filter or something, a mask to darken that up. But I like the idea. I feel like it's just a little, like I want the car to be a little brighter. I don't know if you all agree or not. But just the concept of using these light wands to go around a subject is super cool. I think for this one, I'm leaning towards like a 3.5-ish. So like 4, I would say. It's super cool. I just want that quality of that image to be a little better. And maybe it's the upload. Maybe it's the upload in terms of seeing a little bit of pixelation or something. Yeah, you know what would have been super cool too is if maybe you even had like a little, it would have had to be pretty dim because with that long exposure, but if you had like a tiny little light, even like a phone that you put inside the car, almost like just like the dashboard light or something, where you could see a little bit of the interior of the car, would have been cool too. You couldn't have turned on the car lights, although that I maybe would have played around with that. This would be something that you could combine multiple photos. You could take this photo and then you do another one with the headlights on, and then maybe another one with like the interior light of the or the interior car lights on, and maybe just mask those together. That's getting a little bit crazy, but I just think that would have looked kind of cool too. All right, Vincent posts a photo of the Spider, Canon T2i, 18 to 55. I'm not sure if this would be that creative of lighting. I think I would consider it more creative if, like, I don't know. I don't mean to think that I don't mean to say that natural light can't be creative, but to me this is pretty standard, although maybe the silhouetting, that's what you were going for. I think maybe if you had like your phone flashlight or something where you could illuminate the spider in the foreground, that would have been kind of cool too. I do like the silhouette. I just don't know if it goes so much with this weekly challenge. I probably would have gone to the right just a little bit to put the spider more in the middle of that negative space. I love the positioning of it in that negative space of the sky to highlight it. But I think just if you shifted half a foot to the right, it would have been suspended right in the middle. It's so close to where the leaves in the background start to come into play, where I think that might have looked a little bit better. So in terms of like this photo itself as a silhouette, I think it's pretty solid. I think for the weekly challenge of creative lighting, I think I was expecting something a little different, so I'm giving it a 2-star. But for the photo itself, really good. And I think other people are probably going to disagree with me on whether this is creative lighting or not. All right, we got Barry. This is the photo of the 2019 lockdown. What I love about this photo is there's a lot. I really like the storytelling of this photo. The kid happens to be wearing like stripes, which are reminiscent of like a prison outfit. You got the bars coming in from like maybe the blinds of the window that also like symbolize bars, being stuck in jail, that kind of thing. So super creative thematically. Love the angle that it's shot at. It's just kind of like perfect, like balance, looking down over their shoulder. I like the edit. Soft grades, black, white, not too contrasty, but like deep blacks and shadows. If I were to be super picky, like the only thing I probably would have done, which is hard to see on the original photo, but is in the top right of the frame, had that little highlight just at the edge. I would have just cropped in just a tiny bit or darkened that so that the edge was like all dark. But that's pretty much it. I would say this is like a 4, maybe a 5, actually. I think this is pretty cool. I like that. This is a photo, it sounds like, that you took a while ago, 2019. And I challenge you and everyone else to get out there and take new photos for these. Although I know that's hard. I didn't do a photo for this weekly challenge. I just didn't have time. So I know I eat my own words. But what was I going to say about this photo? I totally had a brain fart and I don't remember what I was going to say, but, yeah, good. Yeah. Anyways, good photo. All right. Radomir Pisek. This is super cool. Long exposure. He did this in Dublin and decided to do a photo shoot with the theme of light painting. Here's one of the photos we use using long exposure and a fireball. Wow, that's exciting. I love the sparks. I think the only thing I would critique about this is you're like so close to being like straight on with that background, which is pretty cool, of the graffiti wall. I would have shifted yourself to the right so that you have those straight lines. And again, I think people always question me like, but Phil, what about angled lines? Can't you shoot things at angles? Absolutely, you can photograph things at angles. But when it's so close to being like perfectly straight lines, it feels like it was like an unintentional mistake, at least to me. And I think that's just my preference in photography style is more like straight lines, minimalistic symmetry. But I do feel like this photo just would have been a hint better with those lines being perfectly straight. And this one, because there's people in there, there's these sparks, I don't think maybe using the transform feature in Lightroom to straighten those lines would have helped a little bit. But sometimes when there's people in those photos, it kind of starts to look a little warped. Although the person in the middle is pretty out of focus and underexposed, so that might work for this photo. But I would give this one, it took some effort to go do this, so I'm going to give you a 4. It's a pretty cool photo and a pretty cool location to do it at. Dolgun Ganbat at the Hagia, is that how you pronounce that? Hagia Sophia's interior dome in Istanbul. I do like that light coming through there. It's not as creative as I would have wanted. I think like these are, when you're there, maybe the appearance of like light rays coming through those windows might have been more apparent than what you see in the photo. So yeah, I feel like I'm wanting a little bit more, I guess, creative light for this one. It's a nice photo. I like the dome. Obviously it's beautiful what you are taking a photo of. Do I like that pillar on the right side that's in the frame? I'm not sure. I think I probably would have tried to crop that out or move so you're not seeing that. And I think this is one where if this dome was in the background, or I don't know, obviously you're in there. I don't know what a subject would be. I think the dome itself can be a cool subject. These are hard photos to take. I've been in places like this, chapels, cathedrals with amazing interiors, but to really like make it a super standout photo, that is hard. I'm going to give you a 2 for this one. I think for me, it's more the subject doesn't grasp me, which is tough because it is such a beautiful interior dome. I think I want those light rays to be like shining more. And you see a little bit of that at the bottom of the frame. You see the light rays starting to come through with like hitting all those dust particles. Maybe there was a way or a different time where you would have seen that more apparently. All right, David Parkinson. This is a creepy photo. Trick or Treat, the OM5 system. 1 second exposure using a pair of lights on my bungalow for a background light with an exposure of 20 seconds on my mobile phone torch aimed at my face. Multiple attempts. So basically what they did was Dave stood there, had a 20-second exposure, probably stood pretty still for a while, and then moved out of frame. And because it was a long exposure, it has this really cool ghostly effect of you standing there, which I think is really cool. I love it. I think you look so cool there. It really does look ghostly. I want to be a little tighter on you. I think I could have cropped out or framed out those trash bins on the right-hand side and just gotten closer on you, and it would have I think would have been a 5 for me. I think because of the effort and the coolness of this is a 4 for me. I think just the crop, and you could probably just crop it if it's a high enough quality image, which it probably is pretty good. Just crop a little bit closer, and I think it'll make it better. But very cool job. All right, Maribel, Bishop's Castle, built by hand by one man. This was shot with the 1/20th shutter speed on the Sony A6400. What I like about this one, and some may disagree about the subject of this architectural feature, like compared to the dome shot, I like that the feature of the staircase is what is being hit by the light. It just seems a little bit more interesting to me. The staircase gets a little bit lost with the stained glass windows in the background, and maybe, well, it looks like there's this archway, so I don't know if there was a way to frame it up where the staircase itself was just kind of like in this like black background. But I do like I like the staircase. I might have gotten a little creative with this editing and like painted out or used a brush or filter or something that left side opening where you see the stones in the background, just to like really focus your energy or your focus the attention on that staircase. Welcome, Shoab. I don't understand your comment about what's going on here. I think it was editing class. But yeah, the staircase is cool. I think I would have probably put like a vignette or something on that left side. I'm gonna give you a 3 though. I think pretty solid creative lighting challenge submission. Good focus, good composition. I like the composition a lot too. I like the framing within a frame of that archway. All right, Trinity, are you watching today? Was looking for the northern lights and captured this, turned down part of the picture so the sky would come through. So brought down the exposure, I'm guessing. I wish you could see the northern lights more. I've never seen the northern lights in person, so I don't know what they look like in person. I've seen videos though where it's not like when you photograph the Milky Way galaxy, where you do get a sense of the Milky Way galaxy if it's dark enough, but like really when you bring it into post and you bring down the or you pump up the contrast, bring up the brights and highlights, you really get that galaxy star system like coming through. So here, I feel like I probably would have even tried to do that a bit more to make those northern lights stand out. I don't mind. I actually like seeing the foreground and the background of like the buildings, the neighborhood, the trees, because I think just a photo of the sky would have felt lacking. But I feel like you said you photographed this from I don't know if you were at your window or something, but you see like the top of your house or where you're standing, you see your like a hose or something down at the bottom. I probably would have just tried to frame it up better with like those houses in the distance with the trees with the northern lights above you. So I think composition, trying to be a little bit more creative with, thinking more about composition would have helped. But this looks like a really cool location if this is where you live and you can see those northern lights. That's something you might be able to practice more of. I think I'm going to give you a 2 for this one. Yeah. If you are here, if you weren't here at the beginning, I will just say that I asked everyone to share what they are thankful for. And that's because next week is the Thanksgiving holiday here in the States. So I'm very thankful for you being here. I mentioned being thankful for my family, our health, and our safety. And I wish that for everyone watching and everyone around the world. But if you are thankful for anything that you want to share with the community, pop it in the chat. All right, let's get back to our photos. And we've got Peter Stridham. Trying to get motion blur, 1 camera, 1 lens, no flash, no tripod, handheld Fuji X-T4, 1.4 lens at a 5.6 aperture, the 23 millimeter lens. Sea Point, Cape Town. This is tough with the handheld long exposure because you do see some blur because of that. This is also one. What do you guess I'm gonna say about this photo, about the composition? I want it to be straight on. It's like this is an example of, I think it would have been really cool seeing like at an angle the lights coming towards you, but because you're like kind of flat perpendicular to these palm trees and the horizon and the street, I want it just to be like shifted over to the right, flatten it out so the horizon and the street are flat. You get like you have a lot of crazy lighting going on here, which is creative but also complicates thing. You have the sunset, which is super cool. You also have this really bright street light in the top left. You have this lady at the bottom, looks like, with a phone light, and then you have these restaurants in the background with these colorful lights and buildings. So a lot of lighting you're dealing with. I actually think what I would have done if you could do this is set it on something like a rail or something so it's not handheld, even if you don't have a tripod. And then try to make the full, I think you could have gone darker. So you probably could have, you had a 3.5 second shutter speed. You might want that or even a longer shutter speed to get the lights going across the full frame. But I think you could have probably pushed up the aperture, the f-stop, to get darker, or I don't know what your ISO was, but drop that ISO. Or if it ends up being in post, editing it down just a little bit darker. So I like the attempt. I feel like it hit the mark, or it missed the mark in terms of what the potential was here. So Peter, I'm going to give it a 2 because I think there was effort and there's a lot of creative lighting going on. I think you were burned by the handheldness of the photo. Yeah. All right, Jolene here with some cool lights overhead. Kind of cool. I would straighten out those lines. This might be one where in post it might have been easier to straighten out these lines perpendicular, or at least like straighten out the top line so it's not tilted. Again, it's like so close. You want to make those straight. The white balance is a bit off, partially because the lights are so warm and yellow, but it also has this green tinge to it. And so I would probably play around with the white balance to see if you could fix that up. I think something that would have made this more creative to me is if you had your subject stand super close to you, focused on your subject, and then you could see like these lights in the background surrounding them, some out of focus, maybe with super cool bokeh. I think because your subject is so far away, you can't really see them that clearly, and I want to see them more clearly myself anyways. Also little things like it's, again, so close to being centered right in the middle of this pathway. I probably would have tried to have them stand right in the middle. Or do the opposite and shift yourself and them over to like one side closer to a pillar so that there's more negative space on one side of it. So I think the lights there are cool. A lot of cool creative lights going on. I'd probably give this a 1 just because I think the white balance is off. The crop and the composition feels a little off to me. And I'm just being a little bit pickier today. All right, Thomas at Magenta Bear. This really cool photo of some sort of performance with like fire sticks shot on the A7R5, the 135 millimeter 1.8. Sparks in the image 33 million. I love all the details. I mean, Thomas, really good photo as always. Nice composition, like composing this person amongst these sparks. Like, I think standing at a different position, you wouldn't have gotten that. I'm trying to be critical. I don't know if it's an editing thing or not, but like I feel like you see like a cloud amongst the sparks around the edge. It's kind of like you see this highlight cloud going. I don't know if I'd like that or not. I don't know if that was just a natural thing in the photo, if it was, or if it was sort of a mask that you played around with, creating this sort of like light cloud around your subject. I almost think it would have been just as cool to darken that, so like you're just seeing the sparks themselves, or at least more of just the sparks. So darken that up. I probably would have played around with that and seen what it looks like. I mean, the only other thing I don't like is that there's this like one flame coming from behind his head, probably from someone in the background holding a fire staff thing. But I mean, this is a great photo, Thomas. So I'm going to give you a 4 because I do have a couple critiques that I think could make it better, but still really solid photo. Cesar Guzman with this photo of, let's see, this is in a suburb outside Sydney called Newtown, monthly meeting of fire dance enthusiasts. It's very cool. Shot with this Canon 600D, f5, half a second shutter, 3200 ISO. Nice. So I feel like the settings are pretty spot on for this. I think if you like extended that shutter speed too much to be able to drop that ISO, the lights probably wouldn't have been, I don't know, it would have just been different, longer streaks or something, or too much. I kind of like the ghostly effect you get on the person standing in the middle there looking up at the fire that they're swinging around, even without them being perfectly in focus, and getting that blur. But you get that light from the fire spinning around on their face, so you see their face, which is cool. And I like the edit, dark, kind of in the blackness, which is very cool. So I think this is like a solid 3 for me, for sure. Maybe leaning 4. I'm going to give it a 3. I think what could have made this type of photo better for me is, I mean, this in itself is pretty cool. Like a different photo, maybe seeing the surroundings a little bit would have been interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's a 4. It's a cool photo. Yeah, I think like what I liked about the last photo is I liked seeing a bit of the staff or what torch or whatever you call that with the fire on the end. This, you don't really see any of that. It makes it more abstract and like creative in that sense, but I think I kind of want a little more context of what's going on. I think with your comment it makes sense, but without your comment it ends up being just like kind of like this abstract-y experimental photo, which is super cool. Don't get me wrong, and maybe for that it would be like more like a 4 for me. All right, Rosemarie Gallagher, Melody as Light. This was so much fun to make. You put some fairy lights inside my violin. Ooh, that is so cool. And several layers of bokeh overlaid above the sound holes to represent notes. Thought about cutting a filter for note-shaped bokeh, but that seemed too literal. Yeah, I agree. Man, this is really cool. I think I wish the bokeh came from like natural lights. I probably wouldn't have guessed that it was just like an overlay, but the creativeness of putting the lights inside your violin is so cool to see those sound holes stand out. I really love this photo. I like the angle. I like the composition. I think you get a sense that bokeh is like a filter because on top of it because it's in front of your subject. And so I probably would have tried to apply it so that it wasn't on top of the bow or the violin itself, because that's just not how like optics work with bokeh in front of a subject. Really, it's more the out of focusness in a distance that gets that bokeh. You can get like little lens flares and stuff like that, but I think I probably would have just tried to mask that around it. But that, like, I'm thinking about it too much, and I think like everyone commenting is 5 stars for this. I really like this. And Celeste, Suzanne also give you a 5 stars maybe. So really good job. Creative, and you took the time to do it this week, so you get a little extra love from me for that. So great job. All right, let's see. Coming up next, we've got Paige Schreiber. Did a little experimenting with creative photography, and for one of the projects, I thought it would be fun to put my cat inside a light bulb. Wow, I hope your cat is okay. Added an old typewriter book. This is like a cool kind of like still life photo that you set up. I like the idea. I think I want those light bulbs to be like lit up though, or something about it. Like there's these light bulbs there, and I think I want it not to be just lit from in front of it or above it how it is. I want those to be lit. And I don't know how that happens, and maybe that's a creative edit you do in Photoshop where you're like literally like painting on light on the filaments inside those bulbs, or maybe you're shining direct spotlights somehow at those bulbs, or maybe they like the 2 bulbs on the side are plugged in or something. I think that's my biggest critique, is that you have the lighting aspect of it with the light bulbs, but like it's not actually like creative lighting being captured. So that's a critique. I think compositionally it's pretty solid. I think I probably could have just like cropped out a little bit more of the book at the bottom. That book like takes up 1/3 of the frame. So maybe making it more of a landscape crop, or just like getting a bit tighter, I think would have been fine. But fun putting that cat in the light bulb. So I would give it like a 3 for sure. I think if you had added some like creative actual like lights being captured, it would have pushed it to like a 4 for me. All right, Celeste. Ooh, this is cool. All right, so I used a built-in flash. Sigma external flash was too high above the camera, ended up being too far from my hand. I covered the internal flash with a tissue to diffuse the light. Love the extra work to make this happen. Oh, and you were, I'm trying, yes, okay, I'm trying to understand what's going on too. He said your daughter was confused and couldn't understand why you were splashing water on the mirror. That is neat. So wait, what are all those little water droplets that are being reflected or something? Or what is all that stuff on the mirror? It looks like water droplets that are being reflected. And okay, I see. So you just so the flash is coming from the camera, the onboard camera. This is very ghostly and very cool. I like it. I like the black and white contrasty edit of it. I kind of wish the hand was a little clearer. Like it's a little ambiguous, abstract, like unable to see what it is. I mean, it's clearly a hand, but maybe it's just making a little bit bigger in the frame would have helped. But in terms of like the creativeness, this is a 4 for me. And I've never thought to do something like that with the water droplets on a mirror reflecting light like this. So that is very cool. Super creative. Good job. Good job. All right, we got Michelle with this glass bauble, a mirror, and a little light up display turntable stand underneath the bauble, which is placed on a little gold display. Cool. So this is like a little glass light thing or bauble. I don't know what that term actually, but it's got like cool texture to it. Is it in focus? I feel like it is slightly out of focus. Maybe the focus is on the tree branch behind it, I think. So I think that... Oh, my microphone's almost about to fall. Technical difficulties. My kids are always unscrewing things in my office. I think the focus, but like it missed the focus just a little bit, but like in general, like the whole setup is really cool. You got this cool bokeh in the background. It's very nice and pleasant to look at, and the lighting is really cool. So I'm going to give you a 3 just because I feel like the focus is off, but otherwise I think a really good photo. Maybe like framing up the tree. I don't know if there was a way to get the bauble further away from like that main, I guess, trunk of the tree, and just push the trunk more to the side of the frame, and then still have the bauble centered somehow. Might have felt a little bit more like better composition, but overall, really cool job. All right, we got Mirella. Glowing like a tiny cosmic butterfly. I love that. You didn't put your settings or setup or any more info about it, but I'm trying to imagine where this light is coming from. If it's a flash from the side or something like that. I love the positioning of the butterfly wings. My daughter would love to have those wings and to see this photo. And I like the little lights in there. I like the edit being black and white, or not black and white, but like pretty contrasty and dark. The placement of where this flash is highlighting, I feel like I kind of wish it was just like highlighting her. Maybe like her face. Like I still don't mind like a sliver of light or something, but I feel like it's kind of weird that like one corner of like the wings is super lit up this way, whereas like I actually really like the lighting on the wing that's on the right side of the photo, the left wing, I guess. And I feel like the flash or whatever that light is, it overexposes those. I wonder what it would have looked like to backlight this with the flash. That might have been kind of cool. You could have probably silhouetted your, I don't know if this is your daughter, but the girl in the front. I think in terms of creativity, this is like super high up there. And I think this is like a 3.4. I'm gonna give it a 4 because it's such a cool photo. I think it could be improved by a couple of those things. I think if the lighting on the wings were even throughout, just to have that cool greenish bluish texture, that would have been better. And then how you do that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's done. I actually don't necessarily mind the lighting on her. Like, I don't think you do need that spotlight idea I just mentioned, but I think more so if you do need that flash to light up the wings some way, maybe it's a composition of like a couple photos, or it's putting that light somewhere else so it's highlighting the subject, or just somehow like flashing somewhere else but bouncing enough light to get those wings exposed properly. Solid work though. All right, Annette, I took this photo looking down a roll of chicken wire. I did not see what was going on. I could not see what was going on, but now with that context, I really get it. Wow. 12,800 ISO. That's really high. 1/160th of a second shutter. You probably could have got away with dropping that down just a little bit. I mean, I don't mind. You do have some noise in there from the high ISO. I don't mind it that much for this photo, actually. It's not that like distracting. I don't know. I actually really like this photo. I like the this is a type of photo that I would take, I feel like, if I saw this. And I like the creative bokeh in the background that you see. It's simple, but like super effective and totally different than the other ones. And I think for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4 because it's different. The creative lighting plays a part in it, but like the subject is just this cool shape that you're composing in a really cool focus and square composition. And then the lighting of the gold versus the coolness of the chicken wire, that contrast is super cool too. And it kind of tells a story of like going down this tunnel or reaching for the light. So solid photo. All right, Amanda Arthur posted this photo. I have no other context. It looks like maybe some like Christmassy lights with like a hanging candy cane type thing. It almost looks like, is that a reflection or a double exposure or something where you also have maybe it's looking through a window or something. Lots of lights that are semi-creative. I think what I don't get, which I want, is like something in focus that's the subject. I think you're kind of on focusing on the background lights. But for this one, I might have just like focused on the foreground of the lights with the candy cane thing and seen what the bokeh and the background lights would have looked like that way. So you took this photo of like some interesting lights, but I want, if those are going to be the subject, I want those to be in focus, right? Or have something else be the subject inside these lights. And so maybe if there was something in the center of this ring that was more interesting and more in focus than just like some background lights, that would have helped too. So I want you to get out there again and try something different. I'm going to give you this photo a 1 star because I feel like technically it missed a couple things, the focus especially, but also just subject matter wise, I think you could have probably done a bit better choice of focusing on something or making something the subject of your photo. Janet, lens ball on a mirror and use finger lights from the dollar store to make patterns. Ooh, that's super creative. Nice work. This is like a solid 3 for me. 3.5. I think only because I think as a photographer, when you get a lens ball, it's so fun to play with, but there's only so much you can do with these lens balls. And I think seeing the images, and I think it's partially my issue that I've seen so many photos of lens balls that it's not as interesting for me. But I think for a new viewer, like this would be like a solid 4. I probably would have centered it, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. It's kind of cool, like spacing, but I might have centered it. I do like the reflection on the bottom that you got with a mirror, and it looks like you got a lot of likes in the community, so maybe I'm being a little bit critical. But overall, just nice contrast, nice exposures, colors are good, and really creative to get those use those finger lights. So I think for that extra credit, like all the effort you put in to get this, probably more like a 4 for me. All right, I think we got 1 or 2 more. All right, we got click at site. Looks like a parade with some cool lights going on. These situations are always tough for me to photograph myself, and I feel like it's hard to get good photos because either it's kind of like a photo of the ambiance, which this kind of is, or it's a photo of a specific subject amidst the setting, which has a cool ambiance. Because it's so dark, it's hard to get like a really good ambiance of this whole scene. And I'm just trying to see, like, I think I probably would have waited until some of the cars or the people were closer to you so that you could see them more clearly to help build the story of this parade. You have a lot of creative lights going, or a lot of different lights and colors going on. You see, like, there's even like this ice cream shop sign in the distance on the right side. You have like these Santa Claus type figures on stilts, which are in the center, which actually look really cool. And I feel like it's hard to see them though, and having them closer to the frame would have been better. I like the angle looking down the street for this one. I don't think it's like you have to be flat on or anything. Maybe just a touch rotate it so that I think on the left you see like the building, it is a little bit slanted, so just rotate it. I'm trying to show the right way to rotate it on the screen, but just rotate it a little bit. So I think I'm gonna give this a 2, just because it feels a little too dark. I don't know if it was edited that way as well. I probably would have liked it better again if there was like one subject, one person or car or thing in this parade that was closer to the camera that you could really see, but then you have all of these cool lights. And I think if you did that with the subject closer to you, the background would have gotten more out of focus, more bokeh, more creative, interesting lights going on in the background too. And that was our last photo, although there was one photo I saw as I was scrolling through that I did not see in the presentation. So let me bring that up really quick. Now, if you post your photos after, like, we make these presentations like on Monday usually, so you got to get your photos in by the end of Sunday for that week to make sure it's in the presentation. But Jenny did do that. And first attempt at light painting, hilarious evening where I had my brother jumping around waving a torch under my direction. Model boat. Oh, that's really cool. That is really cool. Light painting. It looks almost like the sails of a boat. It looks almost like a moon or something in the background. You have these cool lights coming up from underneath the boat as well, this model. So really cool. I probably would have like fixed the background cloth on that top right of the frame, it starts to get a little crinkled, and that's not a problem if you have those wrinkles throughout the backdrop. But I think because it's pretty flat on the full left side of the frame, I probably would have tried to stretch that out just a little bit. But composition is great, and the lighting is really, really solid. So I would give this a 4. Good effort, good creativeness, maybe even a 5. I think the only thing that maybe is keeping me from putting a 5 is that backdrop. Little tiny thing like that. So it's not like a perfect photo for me, but it's pretty darn close. So thank you everyone who submitted photos this week. So this week we've got the Patterns in Nature challenge. So this is going to be fun to look at. And I will not be here next week due to the Thanksgiving holiday, but I will be back the week after. I should be anyways. And yeah, I'll probably do both weekly challenges because next week we have another one coming out. I'm not sure what it is. But as always, have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. Like, super thank you for being here. I'm so thankful to have you here. And you inspire me to go out and do photos myself and to get out here and continue to help educating and inspiring people. And with that, well, we'll see you next time. Have a good Thanksgiving holiday if you celebrate. If not, just know that people are there thankful for you. So thanks a lot. Bye.